for design to be successful, for brands to be successful, to create, brands and digital experiences that resonate with people, that they're going to remember, they're going to trust, it really is a marriage of AI and that human component. That's the recipe for success.
AI isn't the future, it's now. And whether you're in HR, sales, operations, or leadership, the choices you make today will determine whether you thrive or get left behind.
We are live at the AI-Powered Women's Conference. This is the AI Voice or Victim podcast. I'm your host today, Erica Rooney, and today I have the founder of Humanitive, Dana Cox, with me. And y'all, I am so excited, Dana. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here.
Amazing. Well, do me a favor. Tell me a little bit about your background, about what you do, and why you're so involved in AI these days.
Yeah, well, so I'm the founder of Humanitive, as Erica mentioned. We're a human-centered design studio, and we work with neuroscience, AI, and decades of design background to create brands and digital experiences that resonate with people. So my background is in social science and design and architecture. I actually used to be an architect, yes. And then I've just been doing design and web and digital and branding and leading teams for about 2 decades. So neuroscience is just fascinating to me and always has been. I have the background in social science, so I've always sort of tried to marry design and social science together, because if you understand why people do what they do and how they think and how they behave, you're going to be able to connect with them.
Well, I love it because we did a workshop way back in December of 2024.
Yeah.
And it was led by you. And it was wonderful because you were leading us through this journey to really understand our client avatar, understand their needs, their pain points, and all of those things. It couldn't have come at a more perfect time for me because that was right before I was about to launch Her Collective. So I just remember sitting on this Zoom, and I've got you in this window box, and then I'm over here, and I'm using AI to make this dream of mine come together in real time. And I would not have been able to do that without your guidance. So I'm so excited that this has all come together. But the burning question I have for you is, when did you first realize that let me actually back this up, right? What is human-centered design?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people don't know what it is, and it's really the most basic of things. It's really understanding who you're designing for. Who is your customer or your prospect or your patient or your provider, whoever you're designing for, and what do they care about? And what's their ecosystem, and what things plague them, and what things what gets them up in the morning? Because if you just design without thinking about the humans behind it, you could be just designing out into the void. You could design something super beautiful, but it really doesn't solve anyone's problem, and it really doesn't speak to anyone, and they don't remember it, and it doesn't matter to them. But if you bring in that social science and that neuroscience, and you really understand who you're designing for, it makes all the difference.
Okay, so talk to me. How does AI, human-centered design, and neuroscience all come together?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, so I think we're all using AI now in some capacity, and it makes sense, right? Because AI brings you the speed and the scale. We have access to, research so quickly at the snap of a finger, right? We can find out anything. We can, do user interviews using AI. We can simulate research too as well. We can take all that data that we get and we can synthesize it really quickly and draw insights. So, why wouldn't you use it, right? And then the neuroscience and the social science and the design come together super beautifully because, great design, there's no substitute for it, right? You know it when you see it, but at the same time, designing for the people that are really going to be using it makes all the difference. So bringing all those three together, the speed and the scale with the, human knowledge, and, it all just comes together.
How can human-centered design actually be that competitive advantage in the world of AI? Because when I think of human-centered design, I'm thinking very tailored to the individual, hyper unique.
Yeah.
But then when I think about AI, I think about it's that pattern repeater. It's, what the average person is doing, which to me seems very different.
Right. And you really hit the nail on the head because that's just it. AI is a pattern repeater. So it's, again, a great way to do that. Quick research, get access to tons of ideas. It can be a brainstorming tool, right? But you can't use it on its own. You can, and plenty of people do, because I think we've all seen that generic website that someone goes to, Make or Descript or any of those, website builders and says, build me a website. And you have a website in 30 seconds. But it's generic. And it's the pictures of, the happy crowd pointing at a computer screen, right? The things that we've all seen. So it's forgettable. And, there's actually a neuroscience concept called the von Restorff effect. And it says that, if you have something that's all the same, but then you have something that's different, when they test on memory, that's the thing that stands out. And that probably seems really intuitive. But back in 1933, when they discovered it, it wasn't. But it's, we really have to understand who we're designing for and understand how to make it stick.
So when you're thinking about the branding process, because I'm also going through my head and all the things we did in the workshop together, how, or what is the piece of AI that should never touch branding? Or is there anything? I don't know.
I would not say there's a piece of AI that should never touch branding because, AI is a tool and it's an amazing tool. I think any of us who have, asked AI to write us a quick script or whatnot, and it spits it out in a second. I mean, it's amazing. So I think it's a tool to be used whenever it can help you, whenever you need it. The only thing I would say is you don't want to just take it and spit it out verbatim. It's great for brainstorming. It's great for giving you ideas. And I think we all know sometimes it gives you great ideas. Sometimes it gives you terrible ideas. But the key is you need that human curation. You need to be able to oversee it as a human being, sort and sift through all that amazing data, and then inject that human spirit and that creative spirit back into it.
I think a lot about what we did when we were creating the pain points and walking through the whole branding thing. And one of the things that I actually took a little bit further after our workshop was I took all of that information and then I created 3 different client avatars. Very hyper specific. This is Jessica. Jessica's 26. Went all down that detail. And then and those were exercises that I have done before in my life, but took me weeks. And even then I was like, I just don't know that that's hitting the nail on the head.
Right.
But when I took everything that you taught me how to do, plugged that back into my AI tool, then I was able to get so much more powerful information instantly, which is just huge for solopreneurs, entrepreneurs. What kind of advice would you give to someone who's just starting out? And I'm thinking back to when we started this brand workshop and you're we are starting at ground zero here. So where would we start?
Really, you always want to start with a discovery phase. I call it getting smart, right? And you need to take some time, a couple weeks, a few weeks, and really dig into every piece of information that's out there on your target population and your product or your service, similar products and services, what your competitors are doing, what the data says, all of that, and just gather all that data. And that's when AI is helpful, right? To come in and be like, blah, here's all the stuff I have, now help me parse it. Help me find patterns, because that's exactly what it does, right? And really get smart on your customers and make sure that what you're offering is what they need, that you have that product fit. And then from there, you're in a great place to really create those personas or avatars, as you call them, to really map who your customers are. And then you can use those throughout your entire process, throughout your entire company, to go back and say, am I still speaking to person A? Am I still speaking to person B? Or have I kind of wavered off my path? Because it'll always kind of draw you back to your brand and draw you back to center.
Do you find that it's helpful to ask that question frequently? Because once you start building with those AI bots, sometimes they forget things. So always reminding it to go back, is that important?
Absolutely. So I've managed a lot of human design teams, right? And a lot of times when we would create a persona, we would actually make a poster out of it and put it up on the wall. And it was there all day and all night staring at you while you were designing. So you would always think, what would John think about this? So you're always mapping back to that. So absolutely, checking back on that regularly is super, super important. And also, ongoing research. So ongoing user interviews, ongoing discovery process, taking what you've learned and reinforming your persona so that your personas actually get smarter and better all the time is super important. So keeping those really active in your process makes a big difference.
Yeah, I tend to have one document that if I'm ever doing anything with her collective, I will upload that into the chat. And I'm like, always go back and reference this.
That's great. That's great. And as you learn new things from people that you work with, you can sort of modify that persona and make it even closer to what you need and who your customers are.
I've got another question for you too, because as we're talking through all of this, there have been a lot of people, I think, in the branding industry and design industry that are very, clutching their pearls over here with AI, because it's never going to do the things the way I do it, and it's never going to produce what I produce. What do you say to that? Because you're diving in, you're here.
Yeah, I think there's always tools that we use all throughout our careers, right? And they're always changing. I mean, back in the day for design layout, we designers used to use a program called Quark. Who has ever heard of that? That doesn't even exist anymore. And people hung on to that one for a long time. And then it changed to a different one and a different one. And it's like, we just have to always have a learning mindset, right? Always, because things are changing really quickly and you can't just stay behind. But what you can do is you can hang on to those core principles. I have that deep design knowledge. I have that social science education, and that won't change. And the principles that go along with that won't change. And when I, creative director, I assess, what the work that's being done, those always come into play. But you do kind of need to keep your mind open to what are the tools now? What's changing? What's new? What's different? What's going to be useful to me?
Yeah. What is your perspective on this whole, I can tell that's an AI generated thing, or I know, because I'm over here like, yeah, it is. I'm saving time. What are you doing? So what's your perspective on that?
Well, it's interesting. So I had someone reach out to me yesterday and ask me like, hey, can you take a look at my copy? And what do you think of it? And I was like, okay, you literally took this straight from ChatGPT and, spit it out. So get rid of the emojis, get rid of the M dashes, don't have everything in threes. Because I think you can do one of two things. You can either be very unapologetic and be like, I embrace AI, right? This is what AI gave me, but I fed this stuff in and that's what I'm doing, right? So I think if you're upfront about it, that's great. Use it, do whatever you want with it. I think if you're sort of making it like it's something you've created from your heart, whatever, then...
This is my heartfelt story.
Yeah.
I'm telling it to you, but it's really been generated by AI.
Yeah. And I think, AI is an amazing tool. I use it all the time for writing, all the time. I had a client tell me your content is beyond, it's so good. And I'm like, thank you so much. I'm a really amazing editor. So I put in the ideas, chat, or some other AI tool spits out some stuff, and then I parse through it and I say, I'm going to take this and I'm going to take that and I'm going to take this and I'm going to take that, and then I humanize it and I make it make sense. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's a great use of a tool.
Okay, I love what you said. You said I take it and then I humanize it. How can you give me a few ways that you're like, this is how I go in and humanize something?
Yeah. I mean, I think people,
removing the emojis, the M dashes, those are, yes, we know those. But are there other things in there where you're like, I can go in there, I can spot that, and this is how I humanize? That could be a new slogan, by the way. This is how I humanize.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, I think, for design to be successful, for brands to be successful, to create, brands and digital experiences that resonate with people, that they're going to remember, they're going to trust, it really is a marriage of AI and that human component. That's the recipe for success. So I think that's just the way you do it with anything that you generate from AI. I would never take something that Chat spit out and just slap it up and be like, good to go. A lot of people do. That's, not what I would do. But I think it's giving you a lot of great stuff for you to then go in and respond to and say, you know what, this is almost fabulous. I'm going to change 2 words and take out some emojis, or, this isn't working at all. Let's try again. Or I'm going to take bits and parts and pieces and inject my own stuff and then sort of massage it till it till it feels like me and feels like it says what I want to say. So I do feel like it's really that marriage.
Yes, that's what I tend to do is I'll brain dump it all in there. I
Right.
usually love to use the microphone where I can just talk to it. I let it generate something for
Yeah.
me. Because I've been doing it for so long now,
Yeah.
I do really get amazing output,
Yeah.
I think. And so there's very little, but I read through each line and I just tweak small things from how I speak and
Yeah.
what I do.
Yep.
And then, though, what I do find is I will take that copy and then I send it back to whatever chatbot I'm using. And I just said, that was great, but this is how I made it more like me.
Right. Right. No, that's really smart. And I think that's the way to do it. And just to get back to what you said about, AI is a pattern recognition tool. So a lot of what you get might be generic. So the other part of that is, yeah, you got to edit and you got to tweak and you got to pull different things together, but also you got to sit with it and say, I'm a human with a creative viewpoint that may be unique, that maybe, this sort of amalgamation of everything else doesn't have. So what is it missing? And what do I need to put back? What kind of soul do I need to put back into it?
What exciting things are you working on right now at your company, and how are you incorporating AI?
Yeah, so we're working on a customer journey, a patient journey for a medical device. And it really lets us kind of look at every touch point along the patient journey and see, where is it hard? Where is it easy? How are we able to, make life easier for this vulnerable population? I'm working on a rebrand for an architecture studio. So all over the place, right? And a social campaign. So for example, we're working on a social campaign. So whenever I do social, I start with the deep discovery, right? So, interviewing the principals of the firm, right? Understanding who they are, what they stand for, what's their aesthetic, who's their ideal customer, doing a competitive analysis. And I have AI help me with that competitive analysis. I feed in all of that data that I get. And of course I record it, right? I have the transcripts, it's all fed in. And then I come back and, see what kind of themes emerged, right? And from there, I help them write their mission, vision, values, goals, their content pillars for all their social. We do their visual design. And we put it out there, and then I use AI to help write the content in exactly the way that we were just talking about, right? That, feed in great information, see what it spits out, then massage it and re-inject that humanity back into it.
It's so hard to envision like what could possibly be next. I think sometimes when I'm thinking about how do you envision this changing your future, but do you have any idea about like what could be next for you with AI in the business?
I have to say I'm not an amazing futurist, so I never bill myself that way. But, with agentic AI, these AI agents can do a lot of what humans do now, which is a little scary, a little exciting. It's kind of the way I look at user research, right? Agentic AI can do user research. It can interview people, and there's actually benefits to it because sometimes people will tell an agent things that they wouldn't feel comfortable saying face-to-face to a human being. So it can actually be better. But at the same time, I would never just take all that, AI-generated research and use it. I would also do the human-based research, and I would put those together. And then you have those two really distinct data sources, and that's when you get the full picture. So in that same way, I would imagine that maybe I have AI agents that I say like, hey, do the user discovery with this client. Help me create some logos for this brand. Help me come up with colors. But I would also have a human do it too. And I would merge those together, marry the two together and see where we land.
I love that. And again, it always shows you that you can't take the human out of the loop. It can't just be automatic spitting it out there. You're never going to get that uniqueness. You're never going to get that onlyness.
You're not. And we're so overwhelmed with so much information and so much data. And AI only makes it so that people can put out more and more and more content, right? And we constantly have like the text messages, the Slack messages, the emails, the phone calls, whatever. So, it's more important than ever not to take the human out of the mix. You have to keep some of that magic, that creativity, and that human connection in there in order to stand out.
Yeah. We often talk about the 5 C's of humanity on this podcast, and creativity is such a big one of those, but something I It doesn't fit in with the 5 C's, but I always go back to this is preferences. And especially when it comes to branding, like you could put out 10 beautiful brand designs and your client could say, these are all terrible. And it's nothing that is wrong with any one design, but it is the preference, which again, can't be replicated.
So it's really interesting that you say that. And that goes back to that deep discovery and knowing who you're designing for and why and what. Like I can't tell you how many times I've been brought in to fix a brand gone wrong. So I worked for a large technology company, cloud computing company, and they brought me in, excuse me, and they said, we had this super high-powered branding agency come in. They charged us a ton of money. They created this brand, which it's cool, but it's exactly the opposite of who our customers are, and it's eroding trust. And it's eroding the brand, and our numbers
this is giving me anxiety.
And our numbers are dropping. Like the craft that those people did, it was quality. But they didn't bother to try to understand who they were talking to, who those people are, what resonates with them, what they trust. That makes all the difference.
So key. I love that. Oh my gosh. So great. Dana, thank you so much for being a guest on the AI Voice or Victim podcast. Again, we are live at the AI Powered Women's Conference here at MIT. So Dana, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us on AI Voice or Victim. If you want to stay competitive in the AI age, start now. Take one insight from today's episode and put it into practice in the next 24 hours. Make sure to follow us, share your thoughts, and subscribe for more actionable AI insights. See you next time.